Hello, YouTube. So, my name's Jeremy Sennett, and I wanted to get on and make a video and talk about the public education system. It's just going to be a simple, casual rant on how I feel that the public system could do better. Um, there's probably a lot of critiques, and I know several critiques exist that people would like to discuss, that have discussed. And as a substitute teacher, that's what I do. I've noticed something that I think would benefit the entire system substantially. I would believe it's a core pillar that would allow the system to stand up taller and give our students um, what they need as a foundation. So, I guess before I get exactly into that and what that pillar is, what I'd like to show is where we are failing. And there's many areas that I could probably start to approach this, but let's talk about behavior. I think behavior is a good one. Um, the reason behavior is so important, critical to a strong learning environment, is it's very difficult for a student and the students around in the classroom to focus if there's too much disruption. That disruption comes in many forms, but behavior is an important one. And a lot of the time, students don't necessarily intend to be rude, disrespectful, or disruptive, but it happens. And I think a lot of them don't necessarily want to be, but for different reasons, it's still happening. So, what could we do better to get their attention, to allow them to focus better? Less disruption and more activity, more learning, and more fun. Um, I'm sure most of us have heard the term emotional intelligence, or sometimes it's framed as emotional maturity, but something like this. And emotional maturity is a big one, it's huge. And we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it, we don't teach it. The only little bit of education I've seen, and not actually witnessed the teacher teaching on it, but I've been told by a psychology teacher that there is a small section in a chapter deeper into the textbook that they cover regarding emotional maturity, and it's it's really unfortunate because these emotional intelligence can give our students the tools that they need to focus. Um, Emotions are, for those who know and understand emotions a lot better, they know that our emotions impact and affect what we do, what we think, what we do, uh, constantly, all day long. Our interactions with others, with our family, friends, people at work. If we don't understand our emotions very well, especially how to check them and manage them, so that um, we can have helpful and useful conversations, um, then what we end up seeing is people who, on one far side of the spectrum, lose it when something doesn't go their way, or some kind of accident transpires and a teacher just cannot control the student whatsoever, can't get the student to calm down, and then the student loses it, and then you have this, you know, just a couple of bombs that just went off, and they're yelling at each other, and it's super unnecessary. Um, and I know that most people don't want to get into a situation like that. In fact, when they're done going through that episode, they will often tell themselves, "Man, how did I even get to that point? That sucked, man. I That's not what I wanted to happen. I just wanted to teach my students, and just wanted us to get along." And same thing with the student. I'm sure the student didn't want to go through some huge yelling match and get all frustrated and you know um, feel super nervous afterward. Nobody wants to go through that, but we, collectively as a society and individuals, we don't really know how to manage our emotions very well, and we don't get it. As a kid growing up, my parents didn't understand their emotions very well. Never remember having a conversation about it. So, but what I do remember is often getting angry at times, and eventually it just kind of became a normal thing. And if I ever got angry, I never really considered it as anger unless it was really bad, where I was yelling really badly. But anything under that was like nothing. Man, all of it's not good. All of it's bad. And usually it just turns into like manipulation. Then we don't even realize we're manipulating people. And this develops from one who hasn't learned how to manage their emotions. So I think, with that being said, given that our students, roughly a third of their life, they are in school, they should be learning how to manage these very important yet delicate emotions that all of us carry. So why don't we teach these? Why don't we teach this in our school system? We seemingly, when a student acts up, we're quick to talk about what they're doing. We're very quick to send them to the principal's office or to write them up, call their parent, send an email out. But we don't seem very quick to give the students tools that they need to know themselves a bit better. And when they face certain situations, how to resolve them. And even better, how to prevent a situation from happening. So there's really good strategies out there. And when a student feels a certain emotion, when they start feeling maybe a little nervous, they'll notice that they start maybe sweating a bit, right? Their body starts feeling a bit warmer for whatever the reason might be. Maybe a teacher said, "Johnny, stop doing that." Um, and it makes us a bit nervous. How do we respond to even just those little things so that it doesn't um, deviate the rest of our day? And so then it's very difficult for us to focus. I hear students all the time. They share with me like, I just lose my focus so quickly. And when I'm talking to many of these students, I know exactly what's going on. But to translate that and to interpret that for them is so difficult because I don't have enough time to go over these things with the kids. We actually need to be teaching these things. You can't just teach a student how to behave in a few seconds or a few minutes that they need an entire class on, and yearly should have a course that involves some sort of maturity. A very simple start, maybe when they get into preschool, kindergarten, um, and that it would just continue incrementally rising with um, each year as they mature more, that we give them slightly more complicated concepts to think about that would be relevant to their life. So um, I think that's a good start for today. I just wanted to rant a little bit how I feel the education system could do better. Um, I don't know how many people feel about this. If others are on board with this idea, um, giving our students a foundational tool that will allow them to get through not only school but life more efficiently. And isn't that what school's supposed to do for them? Like, we're supposed to raise them up and give them tools to educate them in a way that will benefit themselves and the collective society, so that we can all benefit and live together as one. And I just don't know how we can do that efficiently if we don't become more mature. Um, I just don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. When I think about the reasons why we don't teach this in school, is probably an important conversation to be had. Um, but I know there's going to be a lot of thoughts and opinions on that, and probably not the appropriate video to get into that right now. I just wanted to um, share what I know the education system could benefit from, and now I would just like to get all of your thoughts on that, and um, maybe in the next video we can talk about, go a little deeper into what those issues look like. When students act out, what exactly does that look like? What happens when those problems occur? And what's the best way to solve them? So I think I'm just sort of touching the surface here. I'm just getting out um, an idea that I think we all need to talk about. We love our students, we love our kids, and we just want the best for them. And essentially, that's what I want as well. And I know you guys do too. Some of us probably have a pretty good idea how we could do that. Others, maybe you guys are just learning about that, but you're eager and you want to know and you want to be a part of something like this. So go ahead and I'll make this video shareable. I'm very new to all this stuff, so um, all the technical stuff, I have a couple of friends who are going to help me out, and hopefully I can just make some solid content for you guys. And if you guys want more of this, then I'll be here to share, and we can all dig into this together and figure out what the problem is and find some good solutions, and then see what we can do and how we can go from there. All right, guys. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it might be. And hopefully, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.